The night the earthquake hit, it felt like the world itself took one long, angry breath. The floor shook beneath us, the walls shuddered, and every cupboard screamed open at once. Plates shattered. Glass cracked. The air itself seemed to tremble. My 5-year-old daughter, Ruby, stood frozen in the doorway, clutching her stuffed fox so tightly that its seams stretched. Her big brown eyes were wide with confusion and fear. "Mommy?" she whispered. "It's okay," I said, even though my voice shook too. It wasn't okay, but she needed to believe it was. By morning, a man in a bright vest and hard hat walked through what was left of my apartment, clipboard in hand, not even looking up as he said, "Unlivable." He slapped a red sticker on my front door like he was stamping a rejection letter and muttered, "Good luck." Then he walked off, leaving me standing there with Ruby's hand in mine and no plan B. That's when I called my mother. She picked up on the second ring, her voice warm, familiar. "Of course, honey, you can come," she said, quick and soft like it cost her nothing. For the first time in a long while, I let myself breathe. I didn't think twice about her words. I didn't double-check. I didn't think I had to, because who asks their mother if it's okay to bring their own child? My parents lived 5 hours away, in the same cozy house where I grew up. They weren't alone. My sister Brittany lived there too, along with her boyfriend Shane and her 3 kids from her first marriage. Sure, it was a full house, but there were still spare rooms, and more importantly, it was home. Ruby and I packed quickly, a few clothes, her toothbrush, the stuffed fox, 1 bag of snacks. As I buckled her into her car seat, she looked up at me with serious little eyes and asked, "Mommy, is our house really broken?" "Yes, sweetheart," I said gently. "Is Grandma's house big?" "Big enough," I smiled. The drive felt endless, but when we finally pulled into my parents' driveway, I saw the porch light glowing, just like it had every Christmas and Thanksgiving I'd ever come home. For a moment I felt a rush of safety, of belonging. Maybe finally something would go right. Mom opened the door before I could even knock. "Mara, you made it," she said, smiling wide, until her eyes dropped to Ruby standing behind me. Her smile faltered. "Oh, you brought her." For a heartbeat, I waited for her to laugh. To say she was joking. She didn't. Yeah, I said carefully. Kind of hard to leave a 5-year-old home alone. Mom blinked like she hadn't expected that answer. "We just thought it would be you," she said slowly. "The house is packed. Brittany's here with the kids. Shane's using the den, and the basement's a game room now. There's nowhere to put another child." Ruby, half hiding behind my leg, whispered softly, "I can sleep on the couch." Mom sighed, pity in her voice. "Sweetheart, it's not that simple." "Not for Brittany's kids," I said before I could stop myself. Mom frowned. "They live here." "Right," I said. "They live here?" Translation, you don't. Just then, Brittany appeared in the hallway, perfect hair, phone in hand, eyes glued to her screen. "Hey, Mara," she said lightly. "Crazy quake, huh? Glad you're okay, but we're totally out of beds." Ruby's cheeks turned red. She gripped my coat like she was holding on to me for balance. Mom folded her arms. "You can stay," she said finally. "We'll make it work for a few nights, but maybe Ruby could stay somewhere else. It's just too much chaos for a little one right now." I stared at her, sure I'd misheard. "Without the child?" Mom nodded, like she'd just solved a math problem. "Just until things settle." Ruby's voice broke when she said, "I'll be good, Grandma." Mom gave her a gentle smile, the kind people give to stray kittens they're not planning to keep. "It's not about being good, honey," she said softly. "It's just a full house." From the back room came the sound of laughter and video games. I gave a sharp laugh that didn't sound like mine. Right, wouldn't want to disturb Shane's office. It's a workspace. He called out from the other room. "Sure," I said, very professional. That was when Ruby started crying. Quiet, trembling sobs that made my chest ache. She kept whispering, "Sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry." I turned to Mom. "You really think I'm leaving her here? You said we could come." Mom's polite smile didn't move. "Mara, please don't make this harder." "Harder than what? Telling your granddaughter she doesn't fit?" "Don't be dramatic," she said sharply. That almost made me laugh. I zipped up Ruby's coat. "Come on, sweetheart. Where are we going?" she asked, wiping her eyes. "Somewhere with space," I said. I didn't slam the door. I just left. Their laughter followed us out like an echo that wouldn't fade. The motel was 5 blocks away. Peeling paint, a buzzing neon sign, $30 a night, color TV advertised in flickering letters. I checked in without looking at the clerk. The room smelled like bleach and old sadness. Ruby curled up on one of the beds, her stuffed fox clutched to her chest. She was asleep before her shoes were even off. I sat on the other bed, staring at the crack that split the ceiling perfectly in half. It felt fitting. That was us now, Ruby and me. A clean break. Around 3 a.m, Ruby stirred and mumbled. "Are we going home soon?" "Soon," I whispered. I didn't sleep. I just listened to the trucks rumbling down the highway, each one sounding like the earth reminding me it wasn't done shaking. She cried. I didn't. I just said, "Noted." 3 days later, they were regretting everything. You know, I used to think we were a normal family. Lawn, dog, Christmas sweaters, the whole American picture. But if you've ever been the extra child in your own home, you know what I mean when I say there's always a favorite. And it's never you. For us, that favorite was Brittany, 2 years older. Blonder, louder, the kind of kid who could break a lamp and get praised for her creative spirit. I once got grounded for breathing too close to her science project. Mom said we were just different types. Dad said Brittany was the achiever. I guess that made me the other type, the one who stayed quiet and out of the way. I learned early how to make myself small. My bedroom growing up wasn't really a bedroom. It was a converted laundry room. It was mine because I didn't need as much space. Brittany's. Trophies lined the hallway where everyone could see. Them, and that's just how it always was. Her friends walked through my room to get to the backyard. I started sleeping with headphones just to pretend privacy existed. Here's the thing. If you live long enough as someone's afterthought, it becomes your native language. You start translating everything into "don't cause trouble." So when I turned 17 and got a full scholarship 5 hours away, I packed without a single tear. I remember Mom hugging me at the door and whispering, "We're proud of you." She said it like an apology. College was the first quiet place I'd ever lived. No Brittany. No trophies. No one barging in to ask if I'd seen her mascara. I studied social work. Maybe it was cosmos irony. Choosing a career to fix the kinds of families that break you. But it fit. I liked systems, logic, outcomes. I liked helping people who actually wanted help. When graduation came, my parents mailed a card. "Love, Mom and Dad." No gift, no visit. Brittany's wedding that same summer cost more than my entire education. I know because Mom accidentally sent me the wrong text. Theon meant for Brittany about floral centerpieces that cost $400 each. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. Fast forward 10 years. I was 32, single, overworked, but doing fine. I had a small house, a steady salary, and a healthy skepticism about people who say family is everything. Then I met Ruby. I was assigned to her mother's case, a woman named Trina, mid-20s, 2 DUIs, living week to week. Ruby was 2, all curls and serious eyes. She clung to him the first time we met, arms tight around my neck like a life preserver. Trina rolled her eyes. She likes everybody. That wasn't true. Ruby didn't like everybody. She liked quiet voices. She liked routine. She liked when I brought crayons. For months I visited twice a week, checked boxes, wrote notes, filled reports. But every time I left, Ruby would stand at the door holding that ridiculous purple sippy cup, watching my car until I turned the corner. Then one week, Trina didn't answer the door. Or the next. Or ever again. She disappeared, left the state, maybe the country. The caseworkers said she'll resurface eventually. Ruby stayed with emergency foster care. I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing that little face pressed to the window. So, I did the things social workers aren't supposed to do. I volunteered to foster her temporarily. Paperwork, background checks, endless forms. But within a month, she was sleeping in my guest room. The first night, she woke up crying. I sat on the floor beside her bed until she fell asleep again. When I finally stood, my legs were numb and my heart wasn't. Months later, she called me Mama by accident. I didn't correct her. When the adoption became official, the judges smiled. "Congratulations," he said, like he was handing me a prize. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like balance finally existing in the world. I called my parents that night expecting, maybe foolishly, a little excitement. Mom said, "Oh, wow, that's unexpected." Dad said, "Are you sure about this raising someone else's kid alone?" Brittany texted, "That's so sweet," with 3 heart emojis. That was the whole family celebration. Still, I drove down that summer to introduce Ruby properly. I wanted her to have grandparents, cousins, laughter, the normal things. Ruby was 4 then, shy but curious. She brought drawings for everyone. Brittany's kids ignored her. Mom accepted the crayon portrait with a tight smile and said, "That's colorful." Over dinner, Dad asked if Ruby knew she was adopted. I said, "Not yet. She was too young." Mom said, "Maybe tell her early. That way she won't think she's really part of the family." I choked on my water. She didn't even blink. Later that night, I overheard her whispering to Brittany in the kitchen. "It's not the same. You can't just buy love." That sentence lodged in my ribs and never came out. Still, I kept visiting. Holidays, birthdays, guilt trips, the usual. I told myself I was doing it for Ruby. She deserved grandparents who mailed birthday cards and smiled in photos. Once Ruby asked why Grandma only hugged her when cameras were out. I said, "Grandma's just shy." I lied again. By the time Ruby turned 5, she'd stopped asking to visit. I should have seen the writing on the wall right then. But I'm a social worker. I believe people can change. I didn't sleep that first night in the motel. The ceiling crack looked like it was still moving, and I kept waiting for another tremor. Not from the earth this time, but from myself. By morning, I'd made one decision. I wasn't begging anyone for space again. Ruby was quiet on the drive. Every time we passed a gas station, she asked if we were almost back home. I didn't have the heart to tell her we didn't have one yet. I called Simone, a colleague, part-time saint, while Ruby napped in the back seat. She listened, horrified, then said, "Mara, pack nothing else, just come here. I have a spare room. Olivia will love having another kid around." That was Simone. Empathy in human form. Hours later, Ruby and I were at her door. Her house smelled like coffee and normal life. Olivia, her 8-year-old, met us barefoot and smiling. "Hi, want to see my room?" Ruby nodded, and just like that, she disappeared into safety. Simone put a mug in my hand. "Stay as long as you need." I didn't realize, until then, how long I'd been waiting for someone to say those exact words. For the first time in days, Ruby slept through the night. I didn't. My body was calm, but my brain was sprinting laps. I already knew I owned 1/3 of my parents' house, an inheritance from my grandfather when I was 17. I just never used it, never even thought of it as mine. It was family property, sacred, untouchable. But after being told my child couldn't cross that threshold, something cracked open that had nothing to do with fault lines. I sat at Simone's kitchen table the next morning, flipping through insurance paperwork, when the thought became solid. If I don't have a room there, why am I paying for one? Because I was $200 every month like clockwork for upkeep. A small family tax to stay in their good graces. I opened my banking app and stopped the transfer. One tap done, it felt like cutting a leash. Then came the next question. What now? I pulled up my laptop, searched real estate lawyer near me, and booked an appointment for the next day. When I told Simone, she didn't try to talk me out of it. She just said, "About time." The lawyer was a woman named Franklin, 50-ish, calm, voice like granite. She looked over the deed and said, "You're listed as tenant in common with your parents and sister. You're free to sell your share or petition for a sale of the entire property." I said, "Even if they live there, especially if they live there." I laughed. It came out brittle. "So it's legal to reclaim the floor they stand on." She didn't smile. Perfectly legal. That was all I needed. I told her to move forward. She drafted the notice that afternoon. By the time I left her office, the world felt sharper, more precise, like I'd finally picked up the right tool after years of fighting with my hands. 3 days later, the letter went out. Certified mail, return receipt, the whole symphony. I didn't warn them. Why spoil the surprise? The phone rang the next evening. Caller ID, Mom. Of course I answered. "Hi, Mom. No hello from her. Just what have you done?" "I assume you mean legally or emotionally." "Mara, this letter." "You're selling the house, our home." R.I. echoed. Interesting pronoun. In the background, Brittany's voice pierced through. "She's doing this because of that child." That child has anim, I said. Mom snapped. You can't do this to your family. Pretty sure my family already did this to me. Dad's voice came next. Shaky attempt at treason. Sweetheart, think about this. You grew up there. I also grew up invisible there. I said, you remember that part? Brittany grabbed the phone. You'll make us homeless. You'll make yourselves homeless, I said calmly. I'm just selling my share. There was shouting, overlapping, panicked, self-righteous. I held the phone away like it was on fire. Then I brought it back and said, you could always buy me out. Where do you expect us to get that kind of money? Mom demanded. Oh, I don't know, I said. Maybe from the endless space you saved by not housing my daughter. Then I hung up. I expected guilt. Instead, I felt clarity, a clean electric kind. Simone found me standing by the window, staring out at nothing. Let me guess, she said. They called, they screamed, I said. So yes, progress. She nodded. Pie or wine? Both. We ate in silence. Ruby and Olivia drew chalk flowers on the driveway, their laughter cutting through the heaviness like sunlight through blinds. I thought the earthquake was the worst thing that could happen. Turns out that was just the opening act. By April, Ruby slept fine again. I didn't. Every night I stared at Simone's ceiling, waiting for the universe to remember I still owed it something. When the phone finally rang, I almost thanked it. Your parents responded, Franklin said. Of course they did. Guilt has a slow fuse but perfect aim. They're claiming they already gave you your inheritance. She went on that they spent your share raising you. I laughed so hard I scared the cat. So my childhood was alone. Should I Venmo them for the apers? It's a delay tactic, she said. Delay? Sure. But something in her voice said, buckle up. The next morning, the gossip started. Not local. 5 hours buys you distance. But social media travels faster than traffic. Brittany's post. Some people would evict their own parents if it made them feel powerful. Mom commented with a heart emoji. Simone slid her phone across the table. You okay? Great, I said. I've always wanted to trend for Parasite. I told myself I didn't care. Then I imagined Ruby reading those posts someday and felt my throat close. The worst part, the likes. Dozens of them. People love a villain they can recognize from Thanksgiving. A week later, Franklin called again. I found something, she said. You'll want to sit down. I'm already lying flat. I said, go ahead. There's a mortgage on the property. A big one. I know they took a loan years ago. You signed it, she said. I what? She sent the file. 3 seconds later, my email dinged. 4 signatures. Mom, Dad, Brittany, me. Except the me part was a stranger's handwriting trying too hard. Clean, steady, practiced, like love letters forged for cash. I called Franklin back. That's not my signature. I assumed, she said. We'll need to report it. For the next 48 hours, I moved like a ghost. I cooked dinner, helped Ruby with homework, smiled at Simone. Inside, the ground was already cracking again. They hadn't just used me. They'd used me. My name, my trust, my stupid silence. The court hearing was scheduled a week later. Another 5-hour drive. 5 hours to think about what betrayal sounds like in legal language. When we walked in, Mom gave me the look she used to save for stains on the carpet. Brittany crossed her arms like she was posing for martyrdom. Dad stared at the floor. The judge skimmed the advancement claim, sighed, and tossed it out like a bad script. Then Franklin mentioned the mortgage. The room went still. Mom's face drained. Brittany's mouth opened. Dad's knuckles went white. The judge said the word forgery and something inside me unclenched. That was the moment I knew. Whatever came next, I wasn't the broken one anymore. The investigation moved fast. The bank confirmed it. Signature fake, documents false, everything smelling of desperation. Repayment demanded immediately. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt old. Mom called that night. How could you do this to us? Pretty sure I didn't sign your mortgage, I said. You're remembering wrong. I'm remembering breathing while you committed a felony. Brittany's voice broke in, shrill. You'll make us homeless. Welcome to the club, I said, and hung up. Weeks blurred. The lender wanted its money. Their lawyer begged for mercy. Facebook kept bleeding pity posts. Family destroyed by greed. Simone started hiding them from me. You don't need that, she said. I do, I said. It's proof. Proof of what? That even after the truth, they'll still choose the prettier lie. The sale order came next. Court-appointed agent. Fair market listing. The house I grew up in was suddenly a link on a real estate website. The photos looked fake, sunlight too clean, floors too shiny. No sign of the crack in the hallway wall, Used to trace with my finger when I was 10. Franklin called the morning it sold. Funds are cleared. After the mortgage payoff and fees, your parents and sister get almost nothing. Your 1/3 is untouched, I thanked her. My voice didn't sound like mine. That night, Ruby and Olivia were drawing with chalk on the sidewalk. Ruby looked up and said, "Mommy, are we done now?" "Yeah," I said. "We're done." But I knew the worst hadn't hit yet. It never ends with the money. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Text from Mom. "We lost everything because of you." No apology, no confusion, just accusation. Clean, perfect, familiar. I stared at it until the letters blurred, then deleted it. Simone came out with 2 beers. "You look like someone survived a storm." "I did," I said. "They just don't know they're still in it." Later, when the house was legally theirs no longer, I lay awake thinking about my forged signature, how they'd practiced it, how careful you have to be to copy someone you never truly saw. That's the part that keeps me up. Not the crime, the precision. A few months later, I'm home. The repairs are finally done. New walls, new foundation, no cracks, no red tags, just quiet. Our house feels solid again, and this time it's really ours. The sale from my parents' house finally closed. It went for $618,000. After the mortgage, lawyer fees and all the chaos were stripped out. My own third came to $23,000. It was enough to pay off the rest of my own mortgage in full. 1 bank transfer, and I owned this place outright. Every nail, every square inch, no debt, no landlords, no ghosts. Ruby helped me hang the welcome home sign on the door. She made it herself, letters cut out of colored paper, taped crooked. Perfect. She keeps saying this house feels stronger. Maybe she's right. Maybe it's because this time we built the foundation without asking anyone's permission. As for the rest of the family, well, gravity hit them hard. My parents and Brittany didn't see a cent from the sale. Every dollar of their 2-3 went straight to the bank to pay off the forged mortgage. They lost everything. Mom and Dad now rent a small studio on the edge of town. Brittany's boyfriend Shane left her the second the checks cleared. She's working 2 jobs, raising her 3 kids alone, still posting quotes about forgiveness that somehow never mention her own crimes. We don't talk. We don't need to. Last I heard, they still blame me, which is fine. They can hate me from their rentals. I've got walls that don't shake anymore. It's strange how quiet life gets once the noise leaves. Ruby still spends weekends with Olivia. They build forts, paint each other's nails, and argue about who gets the last popsicle. She started Aikido classes too. Balance, not force. I think she understands it better than I ever did. Sometimes when the ground trembles under passing trucks, I still flinch. But the households. Maybe that's the difference. Now this house stands because I stopped begging for space and started claiming it. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for